Hi, this is Miguel A. Nunez. The hysteria continues. Ooh, baby, ooh, baby.
Yes, and welcome back. Indeed you are. This is The Hysteria Continues, and this time we're feeling the buzz, or are we? Because we're back with Texas Chainsaw 3D from 2013, I think, and this is episode 339. And if you couldn't guess who chose this, it's the resident Texas Chainsaw Leatherface aficionado, which is Nathan, of course. Look at the smile on his face.
I love Leatherface.
I did, one thing I was just going to say, I did find a review that said that Leatherface in this looked like a cross between John Belushi and Elizabeth Taylor.
He's gorgeous. Gorgeous with his makeup face.
Nathan, how are you doing? I take it you're very excited to be talking all things Leatherface. Although we have skipped over an entry, haven't we?
2 entries.
The reason I wanted to go with this one is I find it to be a lot more cheesier than the remake and prequel to the remake. Now, I do enjoy those, and I will pick them eventually, but I was in the mood for cheese personified today.
Okay, well, we'll find out whether or not that's what you're serving today. So, Eric, are you serving cheese?
I'll never forget the day I got my first pair of underpants.
What's that from?
Mama puts his pee-pee and poo-poo right in the toilet.
Yeah, you see, I've discovered on YouTube Sesame Street presents Elmo's Potty Time, and I've taken some sound clips from it, so expect to hear lots of that over the coming weeks.
Eric, could you remind listeners and viewers how old you are?
51.
You don't look 51.
Mm. And Joseph, how are you doing?
I can't complain. So I won't.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So, well, obviously, we've changed things around. So if we've got any recently seen, we'll have it at the end of the show. So I guess that means we're going to go straight into the main feature. So presumably we've got a trailer or TV spot.
There's a trailer.
And there are also TV spots.
Yeah, okay. Well, whatever we're going to play, after that, Nathan will come in and tell us why he chose Texas Chainsaw 3D.
They tried to kill me! Oh my god.
Texas Chainsaw, January 4th.
After the first massacre in 1974, the townspeople suspected that the Sawyer family were responsible. A vigilante mob of enraged locals surrounded the Sawyer house, bringing it to the ground and killing every last member of the family. Decades later, a young woman named Heather learns that she has inherited a Texas estate from her grandmother. She decides to bring her friends along on the road trip to investigate her inheritance. On arrival, she discovers she has inherited a mansion, but is yet to uncover the terrors that lurk in the basement underneath it. So that is the IMDb plot description for Texas Chainsaw or Texas Chainsaw 3D. I have an interesting relationship with this one because I think when I first went to see it in the theater, I was expecting, I guess, a serious, Texas Chainsaw movie. I wasn't necessarily prepared for, how, campy the whole situation is because, it's full of plot holes. Like, you could drive a semi-truck through the plot holes of this movie. But it's one of those ones that I decided to give a second chance to, and now I absolutely love it just because of how ridiculous and over the top the whole situation is. Because, you got these... this group of friends that are coming down to this mansion, and they're pretty bad people. Like, the main girl's best friend and boyfriend are like sleeping together, and they're not very like nice people in any, because they pick up a hitchhiker and he robs them. So yeah, it's it's one of those situations where it's like maybe Leatherface should be killing some of these people. What's interesting, if you try to look at it from a realistic standpoint, is I love at the beginning they do this excellent job of recreating the house and the surroundings and everything. But it's just so funny to me that apparently right after Sally was escaped, after she got away, they showed up at the house, and suddenly this house is full of like a huge amount of people, and somebody brought their baby. I'm like, where did these people come from? Like, there was nobody in that house.
They had a BYOB party, a bring your own baby.
I'm like, I feel like they called, like the cook ran back inside and was like, okay, I'm calling everybody in the family to show up. And they were like, yeah, I'll show up. I'll bring my baby too. So yeah, that was intelligent.
Their little black book's probably made of flesh.
What's hilarious is that, then you see Heather, who's like early 20s, I'm sure. And this was happened in 1974. So she was a baby in 1974, which means she should be 6 years older than me.
Same age as me. She'd be 50. Well, she would have been 40 something when this was made. 39, actually.
Like they kind of cut her age in half. But, so I thought that was really funny, that, that they made her so young. Now on I guess a more serious side is this movie does have a lot of good like chase scenes and kill scenes. There's a great chase with Heather that leads through a carnival. And even though I will say I would have preferred seeing Leatherface slashing up a bunch of people at this carnival, it's still a really fun chase because, she ends up like hanging off of the Ferris wheel and it's just a lot of fun. And there's also the scene where she hides in the coffin and he just chainsaws through the coffin, which I thought was pretty tense and creepy. And there's also the scene where he's menacing them in the van that has been wrecked, and like he's got a chainsaw blade that's humongously long and like is sticking it through the van, and it's getting very close to the girls in the van. So I was like, that's actually a really crazy moment too. I loved the scene, which some people have made fun of it, where the character Nikki, who's the best friend, she grabs a shotgun at one point and sees Leatherface, and she's like, "Welcome to Texas," MFer. And it's like, you don't live there. Leatherface lives there, so your line don't make any sense. But I mean, that's just a very small complaint in a amazing film. So then we get to what is probably the most insane part of the film, is when Heather finally does escape and discovers that, the sheriff and everybody are the actual villains. And apparently the Sawyer family are, they were misunderstood. And I'm like, well,
how do you misunderstand cannibalism?
Tell that to the people they cooked and ate. And then suddenly they're the victims. I'm like, it's just hilarious. So now then the villains turn out to be the cops. And then, of course, it leads to Heather deciding to join forces with Leatherface, which leads to one of the greatest lines in cinema history when she takes his chainsaw and throws it over to him and was like, "Do your thing, cuz." Because she's related to him. And suddenly that familial bond means more than anything else. Even though he tried to kill her just
and he
earlier
killed
that
all her
night.
friends.
And killed all her friends. But that's okay. But yeah, I think that was a lot of fun and very hilarious movie. I absolutely adore it now. It's, it's just, to me, it's just so much fun. And yeah. Joseph, what are your thoughts on Texas Chainsaw 3D?
Well, this is a weird one because when I first saw this, you were complaining how much you hated it. So I was like, wow, this must be terrible if Nathan hates it.
Yeah.
So I watched it and I was like, what is Nathan's problem? This movie is a lot of fun and I think it still holds up fairly well. It's a mass-produced piece of shit. It looks like a music video, acts like a music video. It doesn't have a brain in its head. Like you said, was it Heather, the main girl? Or
yeah, Heather.
She should be about 40. So yeah, she's missing about 15 years. And so, she's got a good dermatologist or something. I don't know what's going on here, but, yeah, I mean, I wish they would have spent more time at the carnival like everyone else says. I think Leatherface in a carnival, you'd get shades of the Funhouse or, Dark Ride there. That's a missed opportunity, but you know what? This is the first, I think this might be the first in the Texas Chainsaw series to kind of nix the whole shouting family angle. And I applaud them for that because the more I watch the Texas Chainsaw series, the less I like it. So I'm finding myself watching them less and less. But if a Texas Chainsaw movie has less family in it, I'm more apt to watch it more. So, yeah, I think this is a good companion piece with that Netflix version that was released a few years ago. I probably should have watched those back to back now that I think about it. But yeah, I love this one. It's a lot of fun. It is like maybe it's like the new beginning of the Texas Chainsaw series, and that's why I like it so much. So yeah, thumbs up for me, Nathan.
Very nice. Although I don't appreciate the other comments, but
What comments?
that you hate the Texas Chainsaw series
No,
now.
I didn't say that. I said the more I watch it, the more I find myself disliking them.
Nathan, is your monster rhubarb flavored?
Yeah.
It is. But somebody that I believe will agree with you, Eric.
Yes, well, I do completely. I didn't see this when it first came out because I'm not a huge fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series, so I kind of skipped it in the cinema. But I do now own it on Blu-ray. It got 5 stars in the front from Scream Magazine, as terrifying as the original, it says.
I wonder how much they got for that.
I mean, yeah.
I am completely in agreement with Joseph about getting rid of the Screaming family. I think this is where the series sort of clicks for me, because the shouting and the Screaming family and tying people to chairs and the shrillness of the first 4 movies is missing from this one, and that's a very good thing for me. I love the silliness of this, as you were saying. There's huge plot holes in it. They do mention, actually, in the extras on the disc, the makers are well aware that the character of Heather should be 40, but if you notice, they obscure the year that the events of the original are meant to have taken place. If you look on gravestones, or if you look on the evidence files that Heather is left alone in a room with, which is another bit of silliness, you'll notice that the year that the original events were supposed to take place is always obscured on those, so that they can kind of get away and pretend maybe it happened in the 90s or maybe the late 80s.
Only
instead.
anyone who's never seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is going to let them get away with that.
I know. This is true. I thought it had an unusual structure as well, because I thought that the normal slasher movie final act seems to happen in the middle of this one, because you have all the friends being sort of off, around the 40-minute mark or so. I thought the teaming up of Heather and Leatherface reminded me of Alien versus Predator, where there's a scene where the final girl in that is running down a corridor with the alien, and they're almost basically holding hands as they team up against the alien. And it's like that in this. It's so ridiculous. As you said, Heather has seen her boyfriend be chopped up. Now, I know that there's this subplot about her boyfriend's having an affair with Nikki, but she never finds out about that, as far as I can tell. So that kind of subplot goes nowhere. So maybe if she had found out about that, it might make that teeny bit more believable that she would team up with Leatherface or sympathize with him, but she doesn't know. And, all she knows is that he's killed her friends. And yet I know the police and all that have done wrong too, but I think they're the lesser of two evils, personally. The scene of the cop exploring the house with his where he's streaming it back to base on his iPhone, I thought that went on quite a way bit too long. Perhaps it kind of felt never ending. I thought I got to watch it in 3D because this Blu-ray is a 3D Blu-ray, and there's some fun moments, like the opening montage of scenes from the original 1974 movie are done in 3D, and it's really quite fun to watch that. And there's, as you said, the scene where the chainsaw is coming through the coffin is really good because the blade's coming out of the screen, and where Heather is tied up in the meat factory and Leatherface is coming towards her with the chainsaw, again, is good. And then there's that famous scene where Leatherface throws the chainsaw at the cop at the carnival, which is like something out of the My Bloody Valentine 3D remake. So there's sort of fun 3D moments scattered throughout the film. Leatherface at the carnival was great fun. It arrived probably too early in the film. It would have made a great maybe third act to a Texas Chainsaw movie, as Joseph was saying. I still think Heather's method of escape by climbing onto a Ferris wheel is a bit silly, because it's going to come around again, and she's going to be in danger once more. I thought it was fun the way they subverted the hitchhiker trope, because whenever you see a hitchhiker in these movies, you assume he's part of the cannibal family, but in this he's just a very ne'er-do-well thief, basically. I thought it was one of the things that stretched credulity for me the most was them leaving him alone in the house to have his, to have free reign of the house while they go off into town to get supplies. It's like, how stupid do you have to be?
We just met him.
I know, I know, and with all the silliness that's going on in Texas Chainsaw 3D, that's the thing where I went, nobody would do that. Do your thing, cuz is a great soundbite. It was obviously manufactured and put in there to use in the trailer. I haven't watched the trailer actually, but I imagine that's featured prominently. It reminded me of Freddy vs. Jason, Place Your Bets. Did you all stay to the end credits, by the way?
Yes. Before, when I watched it the first time, I did.
Yeah. There's a tag at the end where Heather's parents, her sort of adopted parents, the white trash family she has, show up at the house, and they're greeted at the door by Leatherface wielding a chainsaw, and you hear them scream, and then it cuts to black, which I thought was a fun sort of coda to the movie.
Are they in their hundreds?
No, it's just the two of them, not in their hundreds. Overall, yes, this is the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre in the series that I really liked. I'd have to go back and watch the remake and Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, because I do recall quite liking them, probably because they're a bit slicker, but they do suffer from that crazy family setup that the original had. This one I'm fully on board with. There's one after this before the Netflix one, isn't there, Nathan? It's just called Leatherface.
Isn't there like 2 or 3? I know there's one with Stephen Dorff.
I know there's the remake, and then they did a prequel to the remake, and then there was
then there was this one.
Then there was Leatherface.
And wasn't there supposed to be a series, like a TV series at some point, but it got nixed? Maybe.
Oh, I don't remember on that one.
I could be misremembering.
Well, on this one, if you watch the extras in this, they were hopeful that this was going to be a massive hit for them, and they were going to make 7 movies.
Wow.
Because I think Lionsgate, who released this, also did the Saw series, and Saw had got to number 7 at this point, Saw the final chapter, and they thought they were onto a sure thing with Texas Chainsaw as well, but obviously that didn't come to pass. But I think it's a shame, because I really loved this, and I would love to have seen more of them. But the Netflix one is very much in the same vein, so I was a big fan of that. I'm not sure I've ever seen Leatherface, the one in between, so is it any good, Nathan?
I mean, it's probably my least favorite in the series, if I'm honest.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't mean I hate it. I didn't hate it. It was just kind of meh for me.
So yeah, that's three yays for Texas Chainsaw 3D, which I think is very much against the grain, because I think the general consensus upon its release was that it was pants, but I like it.
And like I said, I didn't like it when I saw it, but I was prepared for something different than what I got.
Well, you see, the thing is, it's got the seal of approval from so many people involved in the original that you would think it would be more in line with the 1974 film, but it's not. It's much more of a... I'm trying to think. I can't think of it.
It's a studio film.
Yeah, it's very much a studio film and very much a teen multiplex type movie. Yeah.
Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy this movie. I mean, I kind of echo a lot of what you guys have said. I mean, we've already mentioned a lot of what the things that stood out to me. I mean, I love the funfair scene. One thing I was going to add to that was that when I was doing it, before, we're not going to background, but it was that the makers were actively saying they were trying not to make a slasher movie, and they wanted to lower the body count. So, which I think possibly explains why it would have been glorious to have had Leatherface going through that funfair and like just kind of basically lopping off people's heads as he ran through, and people candy floss flying and things like that. And it just seems strange that they...
Hey, Justin? Sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but you brought up a good point there. You've mentioned this before, how a lot of times in the Fango articles, people mention they're trying not to make a certain type of movie. How do you take a Texas Chainsaw movie and try not to make a slasher film? And there's really no way you can.
No. Well, when we get into background, I'll talk about sort of, there was some articles in some of the LA press with the makers of this film, and they kind of make it sound as if they're making... not exactly driving, sort of eviscerating Miss Daisy, perhaps, or something a bit sort of more serious, which is surprising given what we actually get in the film. And I wonder, I didn't get a chance to deep dive into it, but I'm wondering if there was some kind of clashes on their approach or what they wanted to make. It is a fun movie. I also appreciate the fact is it's not as, although it was criticised as being very routine, you do get bits in there that aren't, like for instance, there are characters whose motivations twist. There's some twists and turns that come in the movie, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. I had seen this before, but not for quite a long time. I mean, it looks great as well. It's probably the biggest budgeted Texas Chainsaw Massacre film there ever has been, perhaps. I know at 20 million, it was kind of, it just makes me think what they could have done with the Friday the 13th sequels if they had 20 million to spend on them. It's kind of, the whole kind of setup, the Texas Chainsaw thing, for me, it feels like I can watch Friday the 13th film over and over and over again. For me, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, I think the first one is a masterpiece. I like the second one, but after that, there is a case of diminishing returns. As far as kind of the Leatherface character and the chainsaw, I think the rewatchability of these movies for me isn't as strong as it is, say, with the Halloween films, or especially the Friday the 13th films. It's just a personal preference. I think Leatherface is an interesting character, and actually when we get to background, what they were trying to go for it, which I don't think they actually achieved with this. But when you actually look at the sheer ridiculousness of it, and this whole, like you say, with this woman who I guess we're kind of meant to think that she's somehow infected with the Sawyer blood, and so therefore has this underneath sort of kind of like a something in her blood, because the film starts with her cutting up meat, doesn't it, in the kind of supermarket. But one thing I didn't quite get, and you guys might be able to help with me with this, that you've got the Sawyer family who live basically in like bastard hot Texas, in the flies and the dust and dirt poor, and then there's this other wing of the family who are living in this massive mansion
with a pool table.
What's going on there? So this is, how did these two clans meet, and what was that about?
That feels sort of like leftover kind of material from the fourth one, where they're kind of in this network. It almost feels like they've got this extended family. Like, why wouldn't some of these richer families give the poorer families a little bit of money to help them out or something? I don't know.
But even in the fourth one, they were in that network, but they were still living in like a crappy rundown house. Like they weren't even rich in that one.
Hey, go to the store, buy yourself some ingredients and make yourself some homemade food. Quit eating people.
Because they could have had a clue at the beginning, as the woman with the baby is dressed in this kind of poor farmhouse dress, isn't she? She's a bit dirty. She looks like kind of, sort of Linus from the Peanuts cartoons. Whereas presumably she meant to be the daughter of this rich lady.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, they could have given a clue. She could have been in a debutante dress in like twin set and pearls or something, just to give you a clue that there was this rich family.
A Chanel frock.
Or a Chanel frock or something. So that kind of threw me a little bit, because it's kind of quite how that all connected. It seemed a bit bizarre. The other thing that really made me laugh was the fact that you had these characters going all the way down. You had all these nice kind of like touches in the back of the van, like the hitchhiker, all these kind of nods to the original films. But the guy who gives the letter and says, "Read the letter before you go into the house," and she says, "Yes, I will." And if she'd actually read the letter, it would have said, "You have an insane uncle in the basement." Cousin in the basement. And she doesn't read the letter until he just says, "Did you read the letter?" And she said, "No." And if she'd read the letter, then this all could have been avoided, couldn't it?
It's kind of like that. If, certain movies, if they were set now, they'd be ruined by cell phones. They'd be ruined by reading.
So that kind of made me laugh. I mean, it has that kind of weird thing, doesn't it, with the police that that are kind of essentially the villains, or one of them's the villain. I was kind of trying to think how this would all pan out in the end, because it's kind of a little bit like the end of The Sentinel or something like that, where she now is the guardian of her cousin, isn't she, like the grandmother was. So are they just going to, presumably everything's going to be okay, then they're going to forget about all the murders and the man with a 6-foot chainsaw running through a carnival and chopping, attacking people? Is it all gone away? It's one of those things that kind of just seems only in the movies. It's kind of fun. It's fun. It's just kind of, for me, it feels like when you read the comments from the filmmakers, that they were trying to make this award-winning sort of non-slasher movie, Texas Chainsaw film, and then they made something approaching kind of high camp. And there's a story behind it somewhere, which I don't know if we're going to get to today. But I had fun with it. I wish I could seen it in 3D.
I saw it in 3D at the theater, and I was glad that I got to see that 3D there, because like Eric said, especially to me, the one I remember the best is the chainsaw through the coffin because that was really good 3D in that scene. So yeah.
The only other thing I was going to mention was that some of the special effects were great and some of them were really bad. Like the wood,
CGI.
the wood chipper. Yeah, the wood chipper bit, or the grinder when the guy goes in and it looks like they just run out of money. It looks like they've done it on a ZX Spectrum. It's really it's really unconvincing, isn't it? Whereas all the other effects are kind of practical by look. A lot of them practical by look of them, but some of those effects I mean, this wasn't in the infancy of CGI, was it?
No.
I mean, it's kind of not as advanced as it is now, but it
reminded me, like when he was going through the shredder, it reminded me of that ending to Shredder. Was it Shredder? It was called the one set in
Shredder was the one in the snow.
Yeah, isn't there somebody who gets dragged into a kind of a snowplow or something, and it's a CGI effect, and it's really crap looking?
I think so.
But they get away with it because they're a micro budget direct to video movie, whereas this is, as Justin said, $20 million worth of talent has gone into this
It's
picture.
also got I can't remember his name now, but it's got Nikos. He was the guy who worked on The Walking Dead, I think, and all those kind of people doing KNB, maybe the studios,
yeah.
Doing the special effects. So I was kind of surprised actually how kind of rubbish some of the special effects were great and some of them just weren't. So, and I wondered if some of them had been added in afterwards because they wanted more gore or whatever, but they just didn't seem to match up.
But like you, Justin, when I've watched this for the first time and it said in the letter she's inherited a house, I was like, oh, wait till she gets to see the house. It's all got bones in it and chicken carcasses hanging from the ceiling. And then she arrives in and there's a pool table and there's like opulence. You own everything. I was like, what? This isn't the Texas Chainsaw Massacre I know.
And also, I didn't understand why, because the sheriff or whoever he was, I think it was the sheriff or the mayor, said, I'll buy the place off you.
Yeah.
And she says no. And I would have been, yeah, buy it. I don't, if you buy that kind of place, how are you going to run it if you've got no money?
Even if the house were nice, I wouldn't want to live in hot-ass Texas in either capacity. So, yeah, I'd just sell it.
I have an idea about why there's wealthy family members. I think that Leatherface bought some lottery tickets and hit the jackpot. And that's why Verna's house is like, amazing.
You see, we never factor that in. You're always putting us straight, Nathan.
I just figure he walks into the convenience store and puts his chainsaw down and just, he doesn't talk. So he just kind of points at like the tickets that he wants.
He's one of those assholes you get behind when you're trying to buy gas. And they sit there and scratch their tickets at the counter. You're like, dude, fuck off. You say it to Leatherface and you cut your head off.
It's like, Leatherface, it's okay to chainsaw people, but don't be rude.
I'll tell you one thing I did see before we get onto background, which I thought I think Nathan would have loved, but they decided not to do this because it would be too silly, apparently, which, considering the rest of the film, is that they were going to have Leatherface being shot at and going ping, ping, ping and stopping the bullets hitting him with his chainsaw.
What a missed opportunity.
Well, I know the director, John Lewestenhop, it was his last film, wasn't it? So essentially bumped off his career, although I think he had a producing credit on Leatherface, the 2017 film, I think it was. But yeah, well, should we get on to some background?
Well, I didn't have to look this up because I actually knew it, but Marilyn Burns, who played Sally in the original, plays Verna in this movie. Gunnar Hansen is back as well. He's in the beginning as one of the Sawyer family. Not Leatherface, but one of the other members. And the description, they call him Boss Sawyer in the cast. Although I don't remember if they actually say his name in that scene in the beginning at all. But it was fun to see them brought back. See, I kind of do appreciate that. I do think the makers of this are fans of the original. I do think that like I said, I think they just made a silly movie. Marilyn Burns also had, this isn't the first sequel that she has shown up in. I guess, I don't know if I call this, well, it is a sequel to the first one. She was also in part 4.
Who did she play in part 4?
At the end, when Renee Zellweger is in the hospital, she's being wheeled past her on a gurney. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that now.
It's a very weird moment, which if you didn't know that she played Sally in the original, you wouldn't even know what that scene's about or why they threw it in. John Dugan, who played Grandpa in the original, he is in this one as well in the opening scene. Which what's funny is the 3 of them I met at one of the horror cons. They were super nice, by the way.
Which 3?
Gunnar Hansen, Marilyn Burns, and John Dugan. They were at the same con. It was kind of a mini Leatherface or Texas Chainsaw Reunion. So, and I'm glad I met Gunnar Hansen and Marilyn Burns while they were still alive. So, it was nice to meet them.
Well, it's better than meeting them when they're dead.
I'd probably be scared if it was after the fact, because then we're in the middle of the zombie apocalypse. And I might still ask for autographs, but I'd probably still get eaten. Alexandra Daddario did offer to do the scene where she's tied up topless, and the filmmakers said no because they thought it'd be too gratuitous. Probably much to the chagrin of many,
Joseph,
straight male watchers of the film, because she's beautiful. Like, I think she's really attractive. And fun fact, when my husband Wes was in massage school, one of his teachers is her aunt.
Really?
And I was like, yeah. So I was like, that's actually kind of cool. That he went and that he knows somebody that was in it. Well, he don't know her, but he knows her relative.
Massage School sounds like a raunchy 80s comedy.
It does, yeah.
I need to ask him if they had hijinks
Starring Corey Feldman.
They're maybe somebody drew a penis on one of those things that the teacher pulls down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
yeah. They drew one on it. You were going to use it for the projector, and then they pulled the little screen down, and there it was. But yeah, fun trivia. So what do you guys have? Who wants to go next? Joseph?
Well, I don't really have anything. Was it Alexandria Daddario? Yeah, she's not really she's okay, but I much prefer Tanya Ramone as Nikki. She was famous for most famous for appearing in Lost as Benjamin Linus's quote-unquote daughter throughout that series. Very good actress, but that's really all I have.
Cool. Eric, what about you?
Yeah. Okay, so Richard Reel plays the lawyer in this who hands the letter to Heather that if she only read before she moved into the house, all of the problems would have been solved. But I recognize him. He's in Bear City 2, The Proposal, which is a bear movie from 2012, I think, so around the same time as this, where he plays the father of one of the bears. He plays a straight character, but they go to Provincetown for Bear Week, and he finds himself at the centre of attention because he's kind of burly and hairy. But that's what I recognise him from. As Justin said, the budget was 20 million. I was just looking at Wikipedia to see the budgets for the entire franchise, and it is the most expensive entry in it. Like, the remake was only 9.5 million 10 years before this, so 20 million is the biggest budgeted one. It made 47 million worldwide, so I'm not quite sure if that constitutes a hit or not. Shot in 28 days in between June and August of 2011. Used the same 3D system as had been used on The Hobbit and The Amazing Spider-Man, so it had top-notch technical aspects in that respect, I suppose, but then probably took money away from the special effects budget for the guy going through the meat grinder. The script was co-written by Jason Goes to Hell director Adam Marcus, so he has kind of a track record now of making silly sequels to movies. Scott Eastwood plays the deputy. He's the son of Clint Eastwood. They didn't have any. They only had the rights to the characters from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1. They had no rights to Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which is why Bill Moseley is not chopped up in this. He's recast as Drayton Sawyer, the role originally played by Jim Cedo in the original, and it got released in January of 2013, so it's 12 years old now at this stage, and I think that's all I have.
Okay, well, thank you. I've just got a few other bits to mention. As I mentioned, that the director John Lessenhop said he wanted to dial down the body count. I also mentioned about, obviously, Leatherface in the earlier. There's an article, I think, in the LA Times where it talks about saying that Leatherface was going to be able to deflect bullets with his chainsaw, but they decided not to make him a kind of superhuman villain. So I think originally he was going to be a bit more Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, but that kind of unkillable boogeyman. They said they wanted to make him more human. The director says, instead of Leatherface in this, he's damaged, abused, stunted, but lethal. So they were trying to humanize him. Well, I don't really think they succeeded particularly, because although, he kind of he doesn't kill the main character, that's only because he sees a scar, doesn't he, on her chest or something. But one of the producers, Carl Mazzaconi, said, to quote, he says, "I believe we have made a classic monster movie. Many Texas Chainsaw Massacre films have exploited more of the slasher aspects of the genre. This one doesn't." So I can only imagine what this film would have been like if they'd actually went full in on the slasher movie thing. And this is why I think they really missed a trick with that funfair sequence where they could have really gone. I kept thinking back to something like Humanoids from the Deep. If they'd done that kind of thing, but with Leatherface, people's bras pinging off and heads flying and things like that, that would have been much more fun.
Yeah, Leatherface at a resort, like an ocean resort. Now that you mention it, that'd be an amazing idea.
Yeah. So it didn't get. I mean, it got some terrible reviews, but some of the there's one good review. One of it's in the Ottawa Citizen. It said a blood-soaked copycat that goes between unwatchable violence and unendurable cliche, and with the promise of more to come. The critic in the Daily News, which is from New York, said it was a movie was less a movie to review rather than to endure, and it said the 3D here made Jaws 3D look like Avatar. So I don't know if they're criticising the 3D.
They are criticising the 3D.
Yeah. This is where they said Leatherface looks like a cross between John Belushi and Elizabeth Taylor, which, to be fair, it only does at the beginning when he's got that heavy makeup on, or Tammy Faye Baker, perhaps. But it did actually surprisingly get a half-decent review, if I can find it, in Chicago Tribune, which I think possibly is one of Siskel or Ebert's newspapers, but it said that the director had tried to bridge the subversive wit of the original with the more slasher-centric sequels, and saying that nobly attempting to subvert expectations while delivering the generic intensity of hot bodies getting ripped apart by coming at you 3D chainsaws, which, to be honest, is not something I can imagine Roger Ebert or Gene Siskel saying.
No, Gene Siskel would have been dead. Roger Ebert would have been, his jaw would have been removed from cancer, and I think he would have been dead right around this time. So that's probably one of their sub-writers. But wow,
right, I'm sure it was. So, but yeah, so that's all I've got on that movie. Although it does sound like it would be an interesting film for the director and people involved in it to actually talk about in retrospect and how it's actually viewed now. Because when we did a Patreon commentary recently for The Stepfather, and we were talking about like the From Hell movies, and we're doing Mother's Boys later today for release on Patreon. So if you are a Patreon subscriber, you'll get that. But if you're not, then join up to listen to it. But it's sort of saying about how back then with those films seem quite campy now. Some of them seem quite campy, but how they were viewed at the time. And so similarly with this is kind of, would audiences have thought this was quite campy and over the top and ridiculous the time they saw it, or would they have viewed it as a little bit more seriously? I don't know.
Well, I viewed it as campy right off the bat. I don't know about the rest of the audience, but I guess it's kind of time sensitive sometimes. Like, it just depends on when it's released, like the mood of the zeitgeist at the time, I guess.
But it's kind of weird, isn't it? You can make a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it does go all in with the gore and places, isn't it? It's quite brutal with the chainsawing in half, people's heads being smashed in. But then having this kind of like, we're trying to make a serious movie about exploring the humanity of Leatherface, when they don't really do that either. It's kind of a strange concoction, and what they come up with is actually something quite fun. And as you said, I think you said, Nathan, it's more kind of over the top and sillier than the previous remake, which took itself very seriously.
It kind of reminds me of like your typical bad movie where they're trying to do something serious, but they accidentally create like unintentional hilarity. And to me, that's usually the best kind of bad movie. So if they failed at making a good, thriller, they succeeded at making a terrific bad film.
No, I agree. I think that's kind of because when you're trying to make like a Sharknado or something like that, it tends not to succeed because people, you really need for a good bad movie to be made with sincerity.
Oh, on a fun note, for me, probably not for, you guys, but they're playing the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the big screen here close to where I live. The nearby theater is going to be playing it on August 18th, just that one day, kind of an anniversary thing. So I'm like, yes, it's my only chance to see it on the big screen. I've never seen it.
Which theater? Because I really want to go to that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to go, yeah, I think they're playing it at the East Ridge Theater, the 18.
Oh, the old Rave.
Yeah, what used to be the Rave. And so, yeah, I'm like, I have to see it on the big screen.
I've seen it at the cinema as well because it got banned. The original got banned probably in Ireland as well, but in the UK for a long time it only had like a London-only license, I think, when it first came out. And back when they were re-releasing the films like The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre films that are kind of been banned in the, was it late 90s, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah.
So I saw it at the cinema then because it had a kind of belated sort of full-scale cinema release in the UK. But yeah, it is kind of, I think it's the kind of film that actually works really well on the cinema. So in the cinema, so yeah, we'll have fun with that. So okay, so what was the consensus on the group, Joseph?
Well, we had 13 comments, and here are the top 3. Aside from the obvious dumbassery, wonky timelines, do your thing, cuz, it wastes a lot of potential. I wish most or all of the story had played out in the carnival setting. That could have come off like the Funhouse, one of my faves, with a sleazy vibe to match the grittiness of the original. I thought Diodario was good in Bereavement, but her performance here is less compelling. That was from Gregory Burkhart. Good to hear from you, Gregory. Like a cookie-cutter slasher from this era, featuring all the usual brain-dead, obnoxious, model-looking characters and tropes you'd expect, but with Leatherface added to the mix and the Texas Chainsaw brand used to put bums on seats. They could have done more with the 3D side of things, and personally, I'm not keen on the Leatherface design in this one. I feel it's also sad that the stars of the original could be bought for a price to appear in the beginning of this turkey. I remember listening to their commentary track and you could tell none of them rated the finished film either. A blatant cash grab while simultaneously farting on a classic. Nonsensical plot, trite dialogue, and a totally ridiculous ending too. Apart from that, I quite enjoyed it. That's from Wayne Zenith. I think we've used that gag a time or two. Went to see it at the cinema midweek, daytime, alone. Huge 300 plus seat screen in central London. Only 3 of us in there. A crackhead came in, sat right next to me, started rambling, then lit up crack. I bailed. Never finished the film. Still haven't. Too traumatic. Hyped for your episode, though, and that was from the What Monster podcast.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's a great podcast, What Monster podcast. So, wow, I've never had, I don't know, has anyone come and sat next to you and got their crack out, Eric?
I had not a crack experience, but I went to see Stargate with my brother at one of those third run theaters. There was like $1. And there was like nobody in the theater but me and him. And like, there was like 2 old ladies. And this dude came in, sat like 2 seats down from us on the same aisle. And he stunk so bad. Like every 5 seconds, you could smell something wafting off of him.
Yeah.
And it just ruined the movie. The movie sucks anyway, but it just ruined the whole experience for us. We're like, why is he sitting next to us? And what the fuck did he get into before he showed up to come see this movie? It was just terrible.
It's funny because it's kind of, a similar thing, but the most recent film I saw was obviously I Know What You Did Last Summer remake in the cinema, and there were like a group of teenagers, kind of older teenagers, who were just kind of got up, and there was like 4 girls towards the back and a couple of girls and a couple of boys halfway down, and they were just constantly getting up and walking around and going to sitting with each other and talking, and then and in the end they were thrown out. Just because they wouldn't shut up. But because I worked when I worked at the cinema in around the time early 90s, and I did some ushering for a little while, and we had to, that was back when you actually had an usher in each cinema, so you actually had to watch the film, repeatedly. So sometimes I saw like Sister Act like 100 times, or Sister Act 2, I can't remember which one it was. And one time I had to go and tell people to shut up if they were talking too loudly.
Did you use those exact words? Could you kindly shut up, please?
Well, I was just going to say, would you mind? Because I remember there was one guy, and he was basically describing, I don't know if his wife was blind, maybe she was, in retrospect perhaps, but he was describing every single thing that happened on screen to his wife. Did you see that? What she just did?
She's blind. No, she didn't.
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know what it was, but I had to go and tell them to shut up. And the only other thing, I think I mentioned this before, we went to see Titanic, the original one. And there was somebody either with kind of mental health issues or learning difficulties in the audience, who just anytime anything bad happened, he just laughed and laughed really loudly. So all these women and people were crying at the end, and like Jack's floating off, and person's just laughing and laughing, and it was just like everyone else started laughing at it. It was quite a funny experience. So.
Although having to sit through Sister Act 2 100 times sounds like Nathan's dream job.
I love the Sister Act movies.
I thought you would.
They're fun. I like the music in them.
Well, anyway, guys, thanks for writing in. Follow us on Blue Sky to... I've lost my train of thought. Stay up to date on what we're doing. And if you want to help support the show, listen on Patreon. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button on any video you're watching. And our email address is thehysteriacontinues@gmail.com. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for writing in. Eric, I'm just going to get the, what's it called? Oh, yes, my soundboard up so I can intro your joke of the week, which I'm sure will be as funny as Texas Chainsaw 3D.
It's my joke of the week. It's so freaking fantastic.
So who is the last person you want to have sex with on the set of Texas Chainsaw 3D? Gonorrhea Hansen.
Elmo puts his pee-pee and poo-poo right in the toilet.
That's where that joke is at.
Yeah.
For that moment of silence.
I stayed up all night coming up with that joke.
We're going to be going on summer break quite soon, although listening to the podcast, nothing is going to change because we are kind of cramming them in, as it were, aren't we, Eric?
We're at the end of our rope.
So we are kind of, that's probably where we're a little bit afraid because we've been recording every weekend. So is there anything, of course, recently seen? Have we got any recently seen? So I've got one, but Nathan, how about you? Have you got anything?
Unfortunately, like you said, we've been having to record so many in a short span of time before summer break. And I'm sorry. I think my dog is coughing up some grass.
Eating your stash, is he?
Not that kind of grass. Are you okay, Callie?
Nathan, can I recommend that you watch Sesame Street Presents Elmo's Potty Time? Because it's top class stuff.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, because we're recording so many episodes, there's not a lot of time between. So I haven't seen anything new. I watched a lot of comfort films lately, like Slumber Party 2, Nail Gun Massacre, Fatal Games. I watched it last night. So there you go.
Okay. Eric, how about you?
Yeah, I saw Together, which is that new movie with Dave Franco and Alison Brie. Cue Nathan's wonderful joke that he sent us in private during the week.
That was me.
I think Nathan started it, did he not?
No, Joe started it,
Okay.
and then I said Joe's joke was Gouda.
Yeah, I got all that applause and everything. Everybody loved
Yeah,
it.
you gave
don't
yourself
remember?
the applause.
No, I didn't. I never do that.
Well, I will return because I have a mess to clean up, so I'll continue.
Oh, okay.
Together. So yeah, this is Alison Brie, Dave Franco are a couple. They've bought a new house out in the sticks. They're walking in the woods one day, fall into a hole in the ground, and find that it's a kind of underground temple of such. They drink from a spring there whilst they wait to get out, and then they find that strange things are happening to their bodies. They keep getting irresistibly drawn to one another, and they can't quite figure out why. And it leads to some sort of body horror moments where their two bodies begin to merge together. You'll have seen, this is all in the trailer, so there's no spoilers. But it's kind of a supernatural body horror movie. But I really enjoyed it. It's not. I think it's got a reputation maybe of being really gruesome, but it's not that. It's not gruesome at all, actually. In fact, I mean, the special effects are kept to a minimum, towards the end. But it's a really fun thing, and it does give you some concrete answers as well, because I had a fear that it was going to be a kind of elevated horror thing where it would end really vaguely, but no, there's method to the madness, and I really enjoyed it out in cinemas at the moment. It's kind of, I suppose, being overshadowed a little by Weapons, which sounds very good, although it's from the director of Barbarian, which I wasn't a huge fan of. So, but I'll still seek out Weapons. But yeah, Weapons is taking all the plaudits, but I think Together is a decent watch as well.
Yeah, kind of Weapons looks quite interesting, doesn't it? It looks like it's going to be sort of similar to It Follows.
I hope that Weapons turns out to be kind of a Twilight Zone type story and not, it doesn't have a realistic explanation for its events, because I hate when that happens.
Oops! Oh, look! I see action of Nathan doing his clean-up job.
Yeah, he's muted his microphone, but he hasn't cut his camera.
No. So if you wanted to ever see Nathan cleaning up dog vomit, here's your chance. Although not actually, it's just hinting, isn't it? The magic is going on off screen.
Yeah, it's because it's more suspenseful that way to keep things off screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, thanks, Eric. What about you, Joseph? You caught up with anything?
Yeah, I saw two things, one of which was weapons.
Oh, okay.
You did see Weapons. Okay.
Eric, I think you would really love this movie. I think all guys would like this movie. I thought it was pretty good. I had the same problem with it that I had with Barbarian, is that once it's over with, you're like, okay, that's it? Okay. The setup is a lot better than the payoff, in my opinion. If you go into this movie, you're going to be delivered a really good setup. And then the payoff, it's... how can I do this without spoiling it? I'll just say it's not really what I wanted or expected, but overall it's a mid-tier movie for me. But I think you guys would probably like it a little more, especially you, Eric.
Yeah, well, that's the problem I had with Barbarian, was that leading up to it, all I saw in the reviews was, it's got this amazing twist and it's so original and fresh. And I watched it and I was like, really? It's like a million other movies.
Yeah, I mean that's what I got from this movie, more or less. Like I've seen this done before. I've seen it done better, but I wasn't bored, so it's okay.
You guys are so lucky, because I had to clean up that and I was dry heaving all over the place and I muted, so y'all didn't have to hear it.
Yeah, we did see it though.
Lovely. So, okay, well, thank you, Joseph. You said that you saw a couple of things.
Just the other thing is I am watching the new season of Dexter Resurrection, which if you're a Dexter fan, you're going to get exactly what you're expecting from a Dexter series. This one is definitely not wanting for intrigue or entertainment. I mean, there's so much going on. To me, it feels like peak Dexter again. So I'm really enjoying it. Very interested to see where they go. They got Peter Dinklage in the cast, and they got Uma Thurman. Some really big names. Neil Patrick Harris is there. Some really big names in the cast this season. But yeah, it's a lot of fun so far. I am shocked at how they've kind of righted the ship after so many missteps. They're doing really well.
Do you need to have seen all the other seasons?
Yeah, you really do need to see all the other seasons.
What season number is this?
Let's see. 8 was the first ending, and then they had New Blood, and then they have the prequels, which is 8, 9. So this would technically be number 10.
Okay. That's a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah, I think I saw the first 2 seasons, maybe 2 or 3 seasons back when it first came out. So
you saw the best ones.
Yeah, you saw the best ones. You could probably read a few wiki articles to kind of get the gist of it, but it really does help if you've seen them all.
Cool. Excellent. All right. Thank you. The only thing I saw was I've never seen it before, was Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings.
Okay. I haven't seen that yet either. Yeah.
Which was this 1992 or 94 or whatever. It was sequel to, by, I think it's Jeff Burr, to obviously Pumpkinhead. And it was fun. It was exactly what I needed, which is kind of like you're talking about comfort horror, because it was, it's almost like AI had written an 80s horror sequel. Kind of. I don't mean to do it a disservice at all, but it was exactly what you expected it was going to be. Kind of some teenagers kind of resurrect Pumpkinhead. He goes after them, kills them off one by one, and various other people in it. And so it's a lot of fun, but there's nothing particularly innovative in it at all. It's exactly what you expect it's going to be, but it is entertaining for what it is. Well, I imagine, Nathan, you've seen it or not?
Yes, I've seen Blood Wings. Now, it's been a really long time since I've seen it, but I remember enjoying it because it is a pretty cheesy movie, if I'm remembering correctly.
We've got Amy Dolenz as the kind of the main girl, who's like
she was in Ticks. Daughter.
Yes, and also the main guy, I can't remember his name, but he was in Return of the Living Dead Part 3, and he plays a really effective kind of asshole in this.
Does it have any ties to the original, or is it just the Pumpkinhead character?
I kind of guess. I'm trying to think. It's got like, I haven't seen the original Pumpkinhead for such a long time, but it's got an old woman and who kind of protects Pumpkinhead. But Pumpkinhead starts off, and it's in that very kind of cheesy 80s kind of way, which I kind of love. But the cop is played by the guy who's the father in Hellraiser. I can't remember his name now, but they have a flashback.
Larry is his character name.
Yeah. but he's kind of flashbacks to 1950s, where Pumpkinhead is this kind of John Merrick style kind of kid who is misshapen, and then of course his the policeman's characters as a kid kind of gives him a fire truck to play with, and they become friends, and then that comes into play at the end of the movie. So it is kind of exactly what you'd expect it's going to be. But for me, it was perfect for an evening just sitting on the sofa and watching some what felt like 80s horror, but was actually into the kind of early part of the 90s. But I think it had like 2 more TV sequels as well, which I've not seen.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one.
Did you say the original Pumpkinhead could probably be shoehorned into our show, our main feed? Because it's kind of like Rawhead Rex in a way.
I kind of imagine it could be, because it very much fits into the mold of 80s teen slashers, where you have a group of teenagers being bumped off one by a kind of supernatural creature, which I kind of guess if you kind of you can put in films like The Slayer and stuff. Although it's not a slasher movie, I guess films like The Slayer and Nightmare on Elm Street have that kind of slasher movie more edge to it. But I think some of the things that we've shoehorned in before, and some of the things Eric's shoehorned in the past, we shouldn't have any problem.
What?
I'm not talking about films, Eric, here,
I
obviously.
didn't think you were.
But we are covering next time the 1970s kind of proto-slasher drive-in massacre. And we're joined by a very special guest, Bob Freeze, who is the author of the All-Night Video Guide, basically a review book on slasher movies. So right
He's
in our
the only
wheelhouse.
person who currently writes into the email address, Bob Freeze.
He's cool.
He's very cool. Yes, so he's going to be on the podcast with us next time talking about the book, and he also chose Drive-In Massacre, so talking about that. And which is, say, it's a fun movie if I remember correctly, because I actually did some extras for it for 88 Films many years ago. So I need to basically crib myself for notes for the podcast.
It's about a massacre that happens at a drive-in.
That's all you need to know, Eric. Yes. Yeah. So, okay. So what are we playing out with, Nathan?
Nathan?
I think Nathan's frozen.
Nathan's frozen. Talking of freeze.
Freeze, yeah. Nathan.
So we've lost Nathan. So
we don't know what's going to be playing out with it. I think he did say Toya, though, in fairness.
We'll leave it a surprise. You'll hear whatever you hear shortly. So anyway, there's only 3 of us remaining, so I will say goodbye until next time. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you soon. So say goodbye to the good people, all 3 of us.
Pee-pee and poo-poo.
Bye.
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 Freeze frame, freeze frame, freeze frame. Now freeze.
Ooh, yeah.